Hey, everybody. This is Juliet, and this is UX and Tame. I'm super happy because I'm back to Vancouver. For the last 2 weeks, I was on the East Coast. I was in Toronto, then in Windsor. So I didn't do any live event, but we are back in track. And I'm excited about today's guest because I feel like as a lot of designers and maybe a lot of new designers into tech, they haven't had a chance to work one-on-one with developers. And for me, I will say that this has been one of the most important relationships while working in tech. So I want to bring a developer so he can take us from his side as a developer what he needs from us. And at the end of the day is how can we bring the two sides, design and tech, together and do the best for the team and do the best for the product. So, the cool thing too, I'm in the past, he's in the future, he's in Dubai, I'm in Vancouver, so we're in different time zones. So let's welcome Kosiso. Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I really like the part where you said you are in the past, I'm the future. So I'm
Yeah.
really the future.
Yeah,
Sure.
I love
Thanks.
that. It's funny because, like I was saying, like I was 2 weeks in the East Coast, and it's even
Yeah.
just 3 hours. Sometimes
Yeah.
it feels like a lot of difference. But why don't we start first telling people who you are?
Yeah. So my name is Kosiso. So that's actually the shortest form to pronounce my name. There's a longer part of it. But you can just call me Kosiso. I'm a front end developer. So I basically work with UI and UX engineers or designers to build product that kind of like gets users to work with the vision of the product. So basically, I work with mainly closely together with designers to build something that gets the users engaged there.
Nice. And again, this is usually one of my favorite questions because I always get really surprised by answers, but the guess. But if you can tell us a fun or unique fact about you.
Um, I would say it's kind of been almost a year right now. So I usually used to do Ninja Warrior. I used to be a Ninja Warrior coach, and also I play football. So basically, during my Ninja Warriors time being a coach as a Ninja Warrior, so I just have to teach kids how to do the obstacles and all those stuff. So it was actually fun before transitioning to front to developer, something like that. So yeah, I think that's a part of it.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I love, yes, I feel like it's amazing the strength that you need and like the concentration. And I think a lot of it is going to be like manpower to be able to say, I can do it, I can do the job, I can hold on. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, see, I told you this question is always usually a good one. Okay. Um, but before we start talking about the relationship between designers and developers, I want to know a little more about you and how did you ended up from being a ninja warrior to a front developer? How that happened?
Um. Yeah. That's actually the cool one. I like the question. So basically, I started off started off as a Ninja Warrior coach, and I worked almost for 2 years, and um, coaching kids and doing all those stuff and going to a competition and other stuff like that. And then at a point, because I was actually in uni then, while actually doing those stuff, and later on, I kind of like when I stopped uni, then focused on the job, which is the Ninja Warrior part. But at a point, I'm like, come on, I love this, but I still something I kind of like to do when I was a kid was basically being a software engineer, kind of like creating something with technology, like amazing stuff or any stuff, just building random stuff with tech. So I'm like, okay, why don't you kind of like For some reason. Yeah, can you hear me? Kind of actually can't hear you. I think something is actually wrong somewhere.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
okay. Yeah, I think something happened. Like the stream went off. I don't know. I think that's this one of my issues with Meron that I switched off. Yeah, I don't know
Oh,
what
okay.
happened.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're
Is it
good.
okay? Is it okay now? Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
you're
Sorry
good.
for that. Okay. Sure.
So yeah, you were telling me about how did you get into engineering?
Yeah. 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 Okay. I didn't complete that. So basically, like I said, I was working as a Ninja Warrior coach and also a football coach with for kids and all those stuff. And I kind of like had a childhood kind of a dream, I would say, to be a tech engineer, kind of like work in tech in industry, build stuff like people can use and help my community or something like that where I grew up in. And then yeah, at the point I'm like, okay, I think I need to work more on this. Then I can keep the current one I'm doing as a hobby, which I love. Like I love playing around with kids, especially when it comes to sports like football or Ninja Warriors or stuff like that. Yeah, so kind of like started off on my own, teaching my own coding and all those stuff, and taking the journey on around and mostly YouTube's and some lectures online. Yeah, I think that helped me a lot, and also speaking with some developers in the industries and yeah, people around me now. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. And again, I feel like sometimes when we don't know about tech and how it works, and you think about like a software developer, you never know what is the difference between like the front end and back end. So, what would you say that is? What does a front end developer? What is a front end developer?
Even front end developer on its own is actually a broad industry, kind of like is actually a huge industry. So a whole lot of different occupation coupled together to be under one umbrella called front end. So I think we should actually start from talking about what is front end on its own before moving to other tech. So yeah, in front end developer we have different categories in front end developers. So I would say there's a UI front end developer, and there's a more of um, in front end engineer part with kind of like combination of both the UI part and also more of doing the technical part of it and yeah, building stuff like coding and other stuff. Yeah, basically in a nutshell, front end developer is someone that builds user interface that you are currently using, like the from YouTube you're watching this on, or any platform you're watching this on. So someone that the person that actually made you to be able to watch this and actually interact with every component of this platform is a front end developer, front end engineer. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So, what will you say? So, what did you do in a day to day at your job as a front developer?
So in my day-to-day job, kind of like mostly start out with talking with a UI or UX designer on products, features like let's say a design if something came up on the product side, maybe the product manager wants something to be integrated on the platform. So it first of all goes through the most of the time goes through the UI or UX designer. They kind of makes a low fee design or mid fee design or high design for of the one we need to integrate. So yeah, so they kind of pushes it over to us, and then we kind of collaborate together on okay, how do you move this from a a a 2D graphics? Is it 2D graphics or 1D graphics? Yeah, how do you move this from here to implement it as a real stuff that someone can interact with or play around with and actually become something useful? Yeah, and then we kind of takes it from there and start implementing it using programming languages. There are a whole lot of programming languages for that. You could actually use to implement something as a front end developer. Yeah.
That's a good question. Like, what kind of languages do you mostly use? I don't have these on my questions, but you brought it up.
um, that's a whole lot of them. Like currently right now, I think I'm actually working with about six languages. But I think out of the six, I would say three out of them is mainly for front end. I would say something like Flutter, which I use often. So I use Flutter, I use JavaScript, and so Flutter basically that would be that, and JavaScript, and also for iOS I use Swift UI for building the front end. Yeah, I think that's mainly the programming language I currently use for building front end UIs. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is a good question, maybe when just for people to keep in mind when we move into like that collaboration between designers and developers. Because I think for me as a developer, as definitely not a developer, as a designer,
And you should actually try moving into development too.
maybe that's the surprise at the end of the episode. Now I'm going to be a developer. Um, but yeah, I think for me, while working to developers, even though I'm not doing the coding and then I'm not doing any of that. For me, it's important as a designer to know the restrictions or the components that I can use of any language. Sometimes and I'm talking about for us, we use material design and Angular. So that gives me a good idea of like why can I do, I cannot do. Because at the end of the day, for me as a designer, I want to make the easiest design for the developers to do. And
Yeah,
if they can use any
yeah,
components, like they're pre-made, why
yeah.
not to do that? Okay, but before we move into that relationship between developers and designers, um, what are some of the best practices or tips to be a great front developer?
I think one will be actually understanding the platform you are working on. You want to actually work on. Like I said, that the front end development ecosystem is actually broad. Let's say you want to be a web front end developer, so you kind of like have to understand how the web interface actually works, how users interact with web interface. Like, so if I'm to implement a button on a web for user to use on a website. So kind of have to understand how they actually need to interact with the button that are implemented when there has a click event or other stuff like yeah, a whole lot of stuff going on there. So basically have to understand the platform, like I said, and then once you get hold of the platform, the understanding of it, I think any language is okay. You can just pick up any language you think you could actually work best with. Like an example, JavaScript, which is mainly used in web development. So you can just pick up JavaScript and then pick up any framework that could actually help you get the job done easily and have everything kind of like put together. So pick up frameworks like React.js, yeah, React.js, and also Vue.js, and we have Angular and a whole lot of them. So, but yeah, I think React and Vue are kind of the most popular ones. There's a whole lot of frameworks out there coming up. Yeah, but the main thing I'm saying is just understand the environment and the platform. For mobile, you just have to understand how mobile platform works, like a mobile app, Android, iOS, how does those work? How does users interact on Android? How does users interact on iOS? How do I build a component for Android user? How do I build a component for iOS user? So those are kind of stuff you need to understand well as a front end developer before you can actually be able to do something useful there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like even though sometimes us as a designers say, oh, you need to do your research and you need to know what is going on, I think you guys as a developers take the time to know what are the, like you just explained, like knowing the platform and make sure that you understand what the users are doing. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to get to the juiciest stuff, and it's like our collaboration and us working together.
Yeah.
um, so, how designers can work effectively with developers?
Yeah, that's actually a good one. So yeah, I think first one will be actually, yeah, both of you under, yeah, both the designer and the developer understanding what is to be done, which in this case will be the product that needs to be created, or the product that needs to be yeah, pushed out to the users. And again, once we kind of grab the understanding of that, and also what platform are we actually trying to build this product on, because if you don't understand that, let's say the designer actually went ahead and created a design that mainly for iOS developers, and then gave it to you, and you are actually working on Android platform, so it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so you kind of have to actually understand the platform that needs to be worked on, and then what can be done and what cannot be done, so the designer can actually be like, okay, I'm trying to add an animation to this UI, or I'm trying to add this kind of complex design. Can this be actually implemented on Android? How fast can that be implemented? And is that a something that is hard to do? So all those questions that has to be figured out, and then so that when you build something, you give it to the developer. At the end of the day, they can easily implement that without going through whole lot of stress or time trying to figure out, okay, how do you do this, can this actually be done, or something like that. Just try to have an understanding of the whole product, the platform, stuff that can be done, stuff that cannot be done, the best practices, and yeah, how does users engage with this. Yeah, I think those should be the main part when it comes to collaborating with each other. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think again for me, I will say that I have a really good relationship with our senior front developer. I would say that we're best friends. I don't know if
Yeah.
he doesn't believe that.
Yeah.
But I feel like for us it's really important to talk about things. She will be one of the
Yeah.
first people that I show anything of what I do, and it's like, hey,
Yeah. That's
what do you
good.
think? And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
I think this will be hard to do, or this will take
Do
time.
yeah.
And what I
Yeah.
love about usually the conversations that we have is that she will bring me so many ideas. She's like, okay, what
Yeah.
about if we do something like this instead? It will be faster, it will be easier from us. What do you think? So we have
Yeah.
a lot of back and forward. And she brings me so many ideas that of course I don't know because I don't know how, let's say in this case, material design or Angular works. So she's like, oh, there is this component that already exists. What do you think? Do you think that we
Yeah.
should adapt it to your design? Hmm.
Yeah. That's actually a great relationship, and a great way to actually view things and talk about things. I really like that kind of
Yeah,
collaboration. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. No, and again, yeah, it's like, and usually, for example, for us, when we do like a backlog refinement or a sprint review, I usually say, like, I already talked to our senior developer. She's good to go.
Mm.
And everybody's like, okay,
Yeah.
if she says it's good to go, we are good
Go
to go.
together.
Because then,
Yeah.
okay, maybe we can leave the stories, the learning stories, but later. But let's keep going. Um, I love this part. Like, I don't know if you have any, like, how to do a really good handoff. Like, what should be on my, let's say in my case, my Figma file for you to
Yeah.
say, okay, this is good. What is a good best handoff document for you to take?
Yeah. I would. So I think one will be actually being able to organize the whole let's say in the Figma design, you kind of like, because I usually work with Figma too, a little bit of design stuff. Yeah, so let's say you organize your whole layouts in different I think in different folders. I think that's how you organize in Figma. So you kind of like have to let the developer know, okay, this is the system design. So the system design part, the components, how those stuff works. This is the sign up page. This is the main page, all those stuff, and then you kind of like provide the whole details for the components, how this interact, how do you the colors, make sure they yeah. I think one problem I usually kind of like face is that sometimes the let's say the button width that's given or the height or the properties that's given, once you implement that on the platform, it doesn't actually look good, or it doesn't. Let's say you say that the button should be 24 pixels high or 30 pixels in width or something like that. Once you implement that in the design, it actually looks good that you can actually touch the button and interact with it. But on the real app, you can't even be able to see the button that instead of interacting with it. So those are stuff you need to factor in, and also make sure the color you specified for the button is actually the color that's in the design. And also providing the extra component that's being used. Let's say sometimes the pictures that's being used in the designs, you actually have, I think it's helpful to provide those, or you can actually point them to the right direction where to get those and all those stuff. And another one would be, let's say you implemented something that is different, that doesn't like I would say one of the projects I worked on, the designer implemented a shape that is not actually included when you're talking about shape. Doesn't appear there. Well, I don't know. It kind of like the brand they went with the product owner, understand, and they kind of like implemented that shape to actually fit with the brand. I'm like, okay, what shape is this? How do we get this shape? How do we implement this? And so that actually took us a whole lot of time to actually implement that particular shape to be a new user interface for the user. So yeah, I think actually telling the developer how to get this shape and what shape is this, yeah, those kind of stuff, yeah, needs to be actually be able to be in order before you hand it over to the developer. Yeah, just makes everything easy for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally makes sense. Is there any collaboration rituals that you already have in place and that have positively impact productivity working with designers?
Yeah, I think that that's a whole lot of them. So basically, actually, how I do stuff is that I always try to be active with the designer, kind of like I'm actually working on the design with you, like both of us are actually working on that. So I think that I found that helpful and actually productive, so that at the later time when the stuff is being implemented as a user interface, I won't have to be both of us going back and forth, iterating through the design. Okay, remove the changes, do stuff like this, do that. But kind of like when we actually work together on the design, going through the whole stuff, how you are implementing this, I think I found that helpful. Again, is also trying to tell them. Sometimes I kind of give them a list of what works on this platform. Let's say we are trying to build this product using Flutter. So this is actually what works in Flutter. This how a button can be done, or how a user can actually use an input field, or could interact with yeah. So all those kind of stuff. I usually give them that beforehand. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, like you're prepping your designers in advance before they start designing. And it's
Yeah.
not that when they come to you, it's like, oh, we cannot do that. So
Yeah.
I mean it's saving both sides time. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Okay, so do you have any stories where collaboration and working together between designers and developers was not great? And what did you learn, and how did you improve the process?
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of have been in that situation lots of times. I think the one I could actually easily remember was, I think I gave that as an example. Yeah. So when I was talking about the designer actually creating a shape that actually doesn't I kind of like it, I maybe kind of like they formulated its shape to kind of for branding purposes, and then it kind of like didn't give me the exact the kind of like a description of why the shape is like this or what the shape is, and also yeah, those kind of stuff. And we kind of like didn't talk about can this actually be implemented on the front end path, how long will this take, and all those stuff. But at the end of the day, what actually worked, and she kind of like she was the one actually provided that was providing the SVG version of that shape. So once the SVG version of that shape was provided, I was able to actually copy the SVG code. So in a, let's say in a platform like Flutter, there's a way to convert an SVG code to a real code in Flutter. So just kind of like a platform that will do that. Take the SVG code, put it in there, it just generates a code that kind of give you that exact shape. And yeah, so that was actually how we kind of like got out of that issue. I think if that wasn't done, I don't think we'll be able to arrive to a new stuff, because I was actually implementing different shapes that was actually close to that stuff, but it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't match up with what they really need. Yeah.
No, makes sense. And yeah, for here, I was going to share like at the beginning when we start working on the project that I'm working with. Um, we knew, I mean, I know as a designers, we knew that we were going to use material design in Angular, but we didn't research about the components. So we created all these like sign up or like a registration flow, and all our
Yeah.
inputs text were non-material design. Like, I mean, I think we didn't even think about it. So we designed it, blah, blah, blah. Developers are having such a hard time. And
Yeah.
when we are reviewing what they did, it's like, oh my goodness, this doesn't look at all as what we have in design. Yes, it was just such a
Yeah.
we were talking different languages. And then we are like, oh, what happened? And they're like, oh, material design doesn't have this component. And like, okay, like if you
Yeah.
tell us like from day one, instead of waiting like a
Yeah.
couple of weeks, we have changed it totally to whatever is
Yeah.
easier. So I think for us, for both of us, was good learning lesson is like, okay, let's sit down, let's share what our expectations, like what we want, what
Yeah.
can we implement. Like if it's too much work and if it's not feasible, just let us know that we can
Yeah.
easily like adapt to whatever is easier for the developers. At the end of the day,
Easy. Yeah.
we want to make these again go fast and for you to take the
Yeah.
less time in whatever that we implement, so we
Yeah.
can put that time into something that is going to be more beneficial for the user at the end of the day. So I think that was a
Yeah.
great lesson for all of us. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe we need to talk more. Yeah, maybe we need to
And
talk.
it's actually okay, because I kind of like actually noticed this a lot. You guys, the designers and UI UX designers are kind of like try to create all these big wonderful designs, like all those stuff. I'm like, it's good to aim that high. It's good to actually be able to do that. While at the same time, you actually has to pity the developers are going to actually convert this to real user interface, and like how hard is this actually going to be, and how easy is it going to be for them. So it's actually good to build a complex design, all those stuff, but in the same case, like try to make it easier for us to
Mhm.
actually
Yeah, for
convert. Yeah.
sure. And again, and I think that knowing again what kind of components to use and how to use them, it just make our life easier because then we don't have to be
Yeah.
like, what do we do? It's like already there,
Yeah.
and it gives you
Yeah.
the specification of what can be changed or transformed. Again, that makes
Yeah.
our life easier because then we don't have to like think all of this is just take this and you can change it. Uh,
Yeah.
like I took this year basic like basic basic
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
front end course, so I know a little bit of like HTML and CSS. And I will say that our translation, so for the project that I work we do have English and French, and for
Yeah.
quite a bit our process for translations and final copy was not the best, mostly because the structure of the team. So sometimes we will do handoff to developers, and it would be not the last, like the final copy will be just like a placeholder. So that at one point it will be just so messed up into what I gave you, what it was. Like I did until today, we're still cleaning our stuff, making sure that everything goes well. But
Yeah.
after I took the course, I've been kind of handling like the copy. So the developers give me like an Excel with all the terminal like this and the French and English. So I just go and do
Yeah.
like basic HTML and start changing things. Um, I was going with this, like sometimes us as a designer think like just adding a line of text is just like adding like a line of text. Yes, that's it. But then when you go and
Yeah.
see the components, the developers design the code differently. So it's not just a line of text. You just need to add like an extra thing. So then we are like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my goodness, just add the text, and they're like, no, we need to change the whole component to add this line of text. So for us it's like,
Yeah.
goodness, we need to make sure that when we are doing the handoff to developers is the final, and there is not that much change that needs to be done after. So I think that was another
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because if we keep on going back and forth in the whole stuff, and the project takes longer to be out there at more than is supposed launch time, so that's actually extra cost on the product management side and all those stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, what questions should we as a designer ask to developers before we start working together?
Um. So I would say okay, that would be asking them. I think we'll be first of all trying to know their experience level. Maybe if they're a beginner, so can say a beginner or a senior or something like that. Depending on the experience level, they kind of like okay, you kind of like know okay, what stuff can this person be able to translate from our design to a real UI interface. And another one would be okay, what platform are you going to build this design on? Are you going to build a design on iOS? Are you going to build it on Android? Are you going to use a framework called so we call them so come on, I was forgetting the so there's a framework that actually gets your product to be on both iOS and Android at the same time. So those kind of framework, are you going to use that? So you get kind of like asked to ask those questions to actually know okay, if you have to create this design, okay, am I going to create it for Android? Am I going to create it for iOS? So am I going to create it in a way that a user that using both iOS and Android can be able to use that design and interact with it? And I think after that, I also, yeah, again, ask them, okay, if they actually have good experience working with Figma, like understand how to actually get stuff from Figma, like knowing where things have been placed and all those stuff. Okay, the color button, how do you how do you get to the color button of Figma, all those stuff. Yeah, I think that would be the starting point for with any developer knowing how. Yeah, I think that should be it. Or is there anything I'm
Yeah.
missing?
Yeah, like I will add from my side. I think for me, I'd like to know which way they're working, or how would you like to communicate with me? Like some people is like, oh, just Slack me,
Yeah, yeah,
call me or
communication.
email
Yeah,
me. Yeah, so it's
yeah,
like, how can I collaborate with you? Like, which way? That's a good one. And again, for me, I took the time to talk to all the developers in the team, and it's like, who I have this like good chemistry. I think for me
yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah,
really important, because then it's
yeah,
like, okay, no, I know that Kosiso will understand what I mean. I know that he will try to guide me. So I will mostly talk to that developer because I think we have a good vibe and an open conversation. And I think
yeah,
again that's been helping me a lot. Um, Mostly because it's like I know who I should contact if I have a question. Um,
Yeah.
and at the beginning, when I started working at this job, I had the chance to work in a different team, and they have a
Yeah.
different structure, and
Not chance.
they were not doing like Figma, they were doing like Zeppelin. And for us, it's like, oh my God,
Okay.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
work because at one point it's like, what is the final product? So when we started
Yeah.
in our team, for us, it's like, okay, no, we are going to say do everything in Figma. We are going to show the developers, so we have like this workshop of how to use Figma. Like, this is the
Figma.
thing
Yeah.
that you need to know. Let's play around. So I think that's for us is being really useful. Honestly, when we do our retros, is like really be like open and honest, because that's how relationships are going to improve. So at one point it's like, okay,
Yeah.
the developers say, hey, this is not working, how can we improve the process? And again, like I told you already, like these copy and translation is still like a under getting better, like how can we improve? But if you are not honest and telling the things as it is, they're not going to
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, so we can, neither of us can read minds at the end of the day. Yeah.
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 Yeah, actually, I think right. Yeah, like you said, communication is actually I would say I'll put that above everything. So it should actually be the first one. Trying to be able to have a good communication and a good relationship with the developers and the team. Because yeah, once you get that, I think other stuff will be easy to actually work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. I told you already that I took some basic HTML and CSS courses. Again, I'm not an expert, far away. But how important, or is it important for designers to know a little basic of HTML and CSS, and how this is going to help our communication?
Um, I would say I don't think it will be a requirement. Yeah, it does. It's not a requirement, but I would say if you kind of like gets to that point that you want to actually learn a bit of HTML and CS, I think is actually great, because in that sense you actually understand more of what the developers has to deal with or the engineers has to deal with. You don't need to know everything, how to build a website with HTML and CSS, but at least know how the whole stuff communicates with each other, and how yeah, maybe like how a interface can be built with them, or how yeah, all those stuff, or user can interact with any of those languages. Actually, in our industry, engineers doesn't have like to call them languages, so they just call them markup languages and all that stuff, not a real programming language. But actually, yeah, that's something for another day. But actually, trying to understand how, yeah, how those works together and how developers use them, I think is actually great. It's a good stuff. It's good. I like that. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So I know that we have already talked a little bit of what are the good things to have, but if you can name just three good tips to get a better communication, better teamwork, and make sure that we both are successful in what we do, like what will be those three tips to give to designers to work with developers?
Um, so we start with the communication. So communication, I think it would be good as a designer to actually have a call, maybe an audio call, a video call with the so let's say you guys are not working physically. So if you are not working physically in a real office, so it would be good to actually have a call, a video call with the developer and talk about stuff, and yeah, go through plans together and kind of onboard each other, understand, um, yeah, create a good relationship and understand each other. Then, if you are working together in a physical office, I think just move to their sections, talk with them, and yeah, I think the first one will be the communication part. Use platform like Slack to keep notes of stuff. Yeah, yeah, all these platforms, Slack and the Jira and all those ones. Yeah, to work with them together. And think the next one will be, I'm trying to think out loud. Yeah. I think actually another one would be actually giving them lectures on the platform you're using. Let's say they don't use Figma, like you suggested previously. Just take them through Figma, how Figma works, or how Zipline works, or how what's the name of the other one again? There's another one. So how those platform works, how they can use it to be productive. So yeah, just take them through the journey. I think that should be main stuff. Yeah, you should actually aim as a UI or UX designer. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everything kind of comes down to our communication and be able to work
Yeah.
together. Um, yeah, if we communicate and we talk and you understand what I'm saying, and if you don't understand and you say, hey, can you explain this again? I think, yeah,
Yeah.
everything goes down to communication and being respectful and professional. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I have a lot of fun when I work with anyone that I work. I feel like for me that's a big
Yeah.
want to take it so seriously. So we can have time, a good time. I'm going to make sure for me that I know you as a person, not just as a developer. Like I want to know,
Yeah.
yeah, how you doing, how was your weekend. So I try to make it personal. I mean, I understand too that not everybody is open to that. So for me, it's to
Yeah.
understand
Yeah. Yeah.
people don't want to share, all good to go. So
Yeah.
yeah, understand how people communicate and want from each other. I was going to say something else and I forgot. I got distracted. Um, hmm. Well,
I
we
think I think another one would be I think another one would be actually being open to comments and
yes, to
providing
feedback.
a way for feedback, open to feedback. And yeah, kind of like working, I just found out recently about that, how that actually helped with the recent project I'm working on with a designer. She's actually in Canada, Vancouver. Yeah,
Okay.
she's
Oh,
based
hi
in Canada,
there.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Check it out. So the thing is that when she's actually creating the designs and all those stuff, she actually leaves a space where she asks the developers to actually add their comments here, what they think about this. Do you want me to remove this or suggest something I'm missing here? Yeah, so just so that when she's creating something, you are seeing it in lifetime as a developer, in real lifetime. So kind of like she makes a change, you see it, then you can actually, wherever you are, leave your own comment. Okay, this change you added is not good, just remove it, add this. Yeah, in a good way. Yeah, not just trying to tell them. Yeah, in a good way. Yeah, yeah,
And again, this goes back to listening to each other and again, how we can make our strengths bigger and
yeah,
how we can work together. We want to both of us succeed. I want you to show off the stuff
yeah.
that you
Oh,
can
yeah,
do, and I
yeah.
want to be able to say, okay, I designed this and this is how amazing look like. I mean, this is
Basically, yeah.
like
It
a
looks like
great, yeah, collaboration at the end of the day. I think this is it for us. Thank you so much for coming
yeah.
to the future to talk to me from Dubai here in Canada. So this is great.
Yeah.
And for all of the people who is watching us and you already haven't subscribed yet, and you keep wanna listen to people like Kosiso and see how you can improve your uh, profession or your work life as a designer, in this case as a developer, because I'm hoping that developers are listening to this and we can have a better work at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you. Don't forget to
Yeah. Thanks,
subscribe.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
guys.